Hello everyone, welcome to a TCG 353 video. I am Jamie. Today we're playing Purple Doflamingo, the Master of Misdirection. A great leader in this meta. Let's rock into some strong games that we have. First up against Red Blue Ace, which is a very difficult matchup for us actually. It's 70% losing, 30% winning approximately. So we'll see how we can do. We choose to mulligan our hand and draw into not all that much to play out on curve for our first few turns, but it looks like a good hand later on in the game, so we'll see how we survive. Nothing in hand, we can play the Usopp if we want, which we don't. So we choose to swing 8 and pass the turn. Our opponent is on the, or chose to go second, or has the second dot. Yeah, chose to go second pretty much, so they have their ideal curve. We'll see how it plays out in this game. They swing 6 into us, we counter out, not, just kidding. Our opponent plays out the Cavendish Raw on their 4th on turn, which is a great card for this deck actually. It seems like OP15 is dominated by Cavendish. We see here that our opponent doesn't have Don attached. There is an option for us to play out a 5-cost character on the turn there, but we choose not to. It would be nice to develop board, and obviously we'd be able to activate leader ability, but what you have to bear in mind is that if they play the Jozu down on curve, they'd bounce cards back to our hand, which doesn't activate our on-KO ability and also would ruin our tempo. So we choose instead to swing 10 at them. If they take life, they're on 1 life, which is very useful for us. And they don't choose to take life, they give us a bunch of cards out of hand, which is very strong. Of course, they're going to be able to use Cavendish to get all those cards back anyway, or at least some of those cards back. We don't have the option of leader ability because we don't have someone on the board, so we take here. Our opponent sees that we take, so they swing 10. I don't think we're going to be taking that. We count up our Don when we get this Beam Sword trigger to see if it's relevant or not. It absolutely is, because when we draw this active Don, we are able to ramp into our Doflamingo into Rosie. Rosie restands 2 Don. We trash the 2-cost Doflamingo event to draw 2 cards, keep the Nor Beam Sword in hand, and restand 2 Don. With this 8-cost Doflamingo effect, we can actually ramp next turn, so we'll be on 10 Don if we want to use this 10 cost, which may or may not come up, only time will tell. But the way it's working now with Don is that if we use leader ability into any of our characters here, we would lose the ability to play out the 10 Don Doflamingo, so that is something to bear in mind. Same way, if we use the Nor Beam Sword, we will lose the ability to play out the 10 Don character. So we'll have to consider that. Our opponent swings 8 into us, we take the first hit to see what we pull from life. We get an Usohachi, I believe, which is another 2k counter, so we 2k out of the leader swing from Ace, and our opponent will eventually pass the turn to us, and we'll see what we do here. I know very well what we're going to do, but I won't tell you. We are going to use the 10 cost Doflamingo, and there's nothing to freeze, but we can KO this Cavendish, and maybe you're thinking that's a bit of a waste. But you have to consider that Ace, while they do run the EBO4 Zoro, which is scary enough to see, the Cavendish is just so annoying for us to deal with. It's not every turn that Ace uses Newgate to swing also, so it's not like we're scared of that every single turn as a swinger anyway. Our opponent swings 8 or 10 into us here now. Depending on if they want to attach 2 more Don, they do, so they swing 10 into us, and what we're going to do is we're going to double up on Don minuses, so we're going to minus 1 Don and redirect into our big Doflamingo, as you will see here. By the way, I just got finished recording this video and realized that I wasn't recording at all, so I could probably record or comment on these games, my eyes closed now. We take the 2k from the Nor Beam Sword after redirecting to counter a lat swing and keep the body on board while resting their Newgate, which is very strong for us actually. It just means they have 1 less blocker, so we can be more aggressive on our swings, and we get the almighty pull of Divine Departure from the top of our deck, which really helps out a lot. for reasons that you're going to see here. This deck list, by the way, if you might have noticed at the start, runs 4 Divine Departures. If I could run 6, I maybe would. Runs 4 Divine Departures, and there's 2 Violas as well, so you're able to summon the Divine Departure from trash, which is really strong. Right there we minus AK to their new gate, so their new gate is now standing at 4, and we start swinging multiples of 2, which is always the way to go against ace. It doesn't matter what deck you play, just multiples of 2 that's just what you do, because you don't want to give them free leader ability. They use the leader effect on their Zoro EBO4 to trash it, which is actually fantastic that they've trashed that card, because that would make them an AK next turn, and would be able to swing into our Doflamingo 9k, which would just that would be very, very hard to deal with, pretty much. We attach 1 Don to our Doflamingo and swing 10 into the new gate. They have the option to block out, but I guess if they block out of this, then we'll just swing with the Dofi anyway, so it's all the one. And we choose not to swing with our 10 cost in, because they'd have the free block anyway, so there's no point. When we play out the Dellinger with the last for Don, which is very, very useful actually. Our opponent clearly doesn't have more new gates in hand, because if they did, I'd bet you money that they'd use them. They use a Yamato instead to draw 2 cards, I believe, and they attach a Don to leader. Now our opponent searches again. They're clearly looking to find something in particular, and that thing in particular is an Uta blocker, which costs them 2 Don. So now they have 2 blockers on the board. They swing 9 into our Rosinante, and we really do not want to give this up. As you might have noticed, we don't even have an event up, or an event in hand, so it's not like this Rosinante is absolutely necessary for what we want to do. It's just that having Rosinante gives us the opportunity later on to use an Ornor Beam Sword for free, and it also scares the opponent. Also, having 2 Don up every turn, it could mean that we have an event. It doesn't. You can see my hand that we don't, but it's just that threat. It's sort of ominous for our opponent, I guess. We also have this Viola, so we do eventually want to crack this Viola to get an event up. All that being said, it's our turn now. Our opponent passed after we redirected into our Doflamingo. We swing 9 at the start. Our opponent takes the block straight away. If we had another Divine Departure, 100% we'll be using it, but we don't. We swing 10 into their leader. We'll see what they do here. They also have a Don attached to leader, so they take the life and they draw, so their hand size now is probably in the double digits. We simply use the Doflamingo into the baby 5 and ramp an active Don with that baby 5. We consider what to do here. We don't really want to swing with the Rosinante, to be honest, because it's so useful to have in hand for this, for the reason I was telling you about there. Swing 8 into them. They use the leader effect to trash an Uta from hand, making it a 2k and give us a Jozu as well. We restand 2 Don with Rosinante and we pass the turn. Our opponent is of course on 10 Don. There are a lot of options for ace on 10 Don, Goldie Roger being one of them, which doesn't really affect our deck too much because we don't run blockers all that much, we just redirect. Also our opponent attached 3 Don to their leader, so we're pretty certain they're not going to be using a Goldie Roger, and also they're probably not going to be using a Zoro as well, since they're swinging leader first. If they had a Zoro, they would have played the Zoro and then attached the 3 Don to leader if that's what they wanted to do. So now they play the Atmos. The Atmos is used to reveal cards and bounce a 4 cost back to the opponent's hand, and they're going to bounce the baby 5 back to her hand, thinking that's really going to do the trick for them. I mean, it would have in all fairness, because we do have the leader ability here, right? But if we don't have counter for this swing, in particular this swing, then we'd have the leader ability and the new gate wins. Like, the new gate would just beat us, but we do have enough counter. So we use it, because otherwise we'd lose. We can't use leader ability to like salvage our hand or whatever. It wouldn't work out like that. We choose instead to trash or to use our counter, and the opponent does not have the ability to do anything now. They could swing the Nugget if they want, but we just redirect it into something. Yeah, we'd lose the body, but I mean, they'd also lose a very powerful blocker on board. Now we're on our 10 Don turn, and we can, in all fairness, use a 10 cost Doflamingo to freeze treat our characters, but they would still have a 12k and a 16k to come into us next turn, and we could not defend it of a 16k or a 12 even. We could redirect one, but we can't do anything with the boat. So having the baby 5 right now in hand is very, very useful for us. So it's kind of ironic that our opponent got rid of that from us. Now we choose to start swinging into their body because we don't really want to give them cards in hand. It's not so much about Goldie Roger, as I mentioned earlier. We can redirect life. We don't really use all that many blockers, or rather we do, the Viola, but we can redirect into Viola as well. But the mostly right is that since we're on 0 life, yeah, the Goldie Roger effect is active, but we can redirect into a baby 5 if it's on the board to gain a life. So then we negate the Goldie Roger effect, then we can block, which is very useful actually. It doesn't come up exactly here, but it is relevant. We swing 10 into the Yamato, they block, and we just swing 6 into the Yamato now just to get more cards out of hand. They give us a 2k, which is very nice actually. And we swing our final 10 into 6. Our opponent probably thinks we're not going to do that, but we absolutely are, because why not, I guess. We now play out the baby 5 and use the Viola. Just that interaction I was telling you about, it's relevant here. We'd be able to gain life and then able to use the blocker. That's partly the reason why we didn't swing into life their last turn, in their last turn. Our opponent chooses to swing 7 into us. We have no counter in our hand at all, but what we do have is a hope and a dream. We block out with this Viola, okay? Use the card action, minus it on, take back a Northern Beam Sword. So now we have 2k counter in hand. We have 2 Don up, 2k counter in hand, and we're able to rest one character. We also can redirect, gaining us a life. So essentially we have 2 life and our opponent has however many swingers available to them at the moment. Our opponent kind of recognizes this, so goes for board control and tries to get rid of what we have here. Swings 8 into 6, so like they're swinging in a way that the beam sword would have to have an additional counter if I wanted to get out of this. I recognize that, so I can't counter out of this, so they can have it for free. I also can't redirect it, because then I would lose the game afterwards. So our opponent's playing pretty well here. It is taking into account that we do have a beam sword in hand. Chooses now to swing 9 into us. We use the beam sword here to rest their block, and we have to let this go as well because we don't have any more counter, but our opponent doesn't have any more swings. We don't use the baby 5 effect there, but I guess that's okay because we're just going to swing big here. We forget that the opponent has 1 Don attached, so they're going to gain 2 life or 2 cards from the next swing. We kind of forgot that when we were doing the math. We would have spread it out less equally. But look, we'll see what happens here. If it does come up and we don't get the win, we do. It's a great thing. They had the Goldie Roger in hand, and pretty much any game that you play against Ace, that Goldie Roger is a menace, and it would have won them the game if we were any other deck. But because we're Doflamingo and we're not traditionally defensive, we're misdirecting and we're confusing the opponent with what we do have in hand and the appearance of how our defense looks. The Goldie Roger doesn't affect us that much. We're also able to use the Viola to get beam swords back to hand to rest our new gates. It's a losing matchup, but I believe that's how you win it. Divine Departure to get rid of their new gates as well is hugely beneficial. Let's now talk about this Kuzan match. We, on our first on play out Dellinger and pass the turn. Our opponent has nothing in their hand for their first on play, and we pass turn after playing a Dellinger and swinging 7. Our opponent takes, of course, and plays out a Tashigi and searches a Hina, which is a 2k. So we know our opponent has a 2k. Our opponent chooses a Starvus there. Starvus at the value of the Dellinger, I guess, because we would have redirected there. So it kind of suits us, to be honest. We play a Sugar next turn, we search with it, and we swing 5 with the Dellinger and 5 with our lead. They swing 2 into Tashigi, or 2 into Sugar. We redirect that into Dellinger and search out an 8 cost from Top of Life. Our opponent then plays out Bluegrass and bottom decks our Dellinger, so we don't get the on KO effect, which is unfortunate, and swings 5 into Sugar, which of course they're going to have. We swing 5 with Tashigi. We're considering where to swing, sorry. 5 into their leader, they counter 2k, and we play out the Monet Rampidon, and because we ramp the Don, we are able to play out the Viola as well. Our opponent does have some removal in the Kuzan deck. I think they play that 6 cost blocker that can bottom deck 4 cost characters. What happens here, right, is the Kuzan, when it comes on the board, it makes you get rid of 2 cards from your hand. And so we did that, and we got rid of one of our events thinking, oh great, we can now use the Viola blocker to loop that back to hand. And we just didn't read the fine print. Kuzan makes you bottom deck a character. It doesn't make you trash a card. Or bottom deck cards. It doesn't make you trash cards. So we didn't have that Divine Departure and trash. Okay, we got a free block, but we also minus 1 Don for no reason. It doesn't come up really that we've threw the game or anything because of that, but it does hurt a little, you know. It kind of hurts. We swing 7 with Monet, we swing 5 with leader. Our opponent takes the Monet swing, blocks out of the leader and pass. So they use Bluegrass here and swing directly into the Monet, and we're actually going to take that straight away. We could redirect it, but there's no real point. But we could have redirected it in all fairness. They are now on their, I believe, 10 on turn. They probably don't have a Garb in hand, which is very rare for Kuzan, to be honest, because they draw and discard so much. So they play at the Sakazuki, and the Sakazuki attaches the rest of Don to their leader. They attach another Don and swing 7 at us, which we take. Now we are able to activate our Doflamingo, our big Doflamingo, and rest 3 of their big swings. We swing 5 at their leader. They counter, we swing 7, they give us one of the 4k events, trash a card and draw a card. We swing 9, and most likely they're going to give us, yeah, here you go, they left 2 Don up for that reason, so fair play to them. They give us 4k and trash a card, draw a card, and give us counter. Our opponent has very little to do on this turn, in all fairness. One of the things they choose to do is swing into the Virgo, which we're just not going to let go at all. We could redirect, in all fairness, but we're not going to, because we want the Don in hand. Our opponent uses Ice Time, which is a really cool card. It freezes 10 costs. There are characters with 10,000 power, 2 of them. So it freezes 2 of our big swings, and now we just kind of do Doflamingo math to see what way the board will shake out once we put down characters and gain the active Don and such. The best way to work this turn here is to, well, to be honest, both ways would have been the exact same. We don't gain an active Don here. We're capped out on Don at the moment, and we're absolutely going to survive next turn. So you see that we don't swing with any of our board. That Kuzan that they have, being able to minus 2k to a body, is actually quite scary for us, because it would allow them to control the board very effectively, because they do have big characters on the board. So we don't give them the opportunity for that. We leave all our characters standing, and we just allow them to swing into our life. They can't beat us this turn, because, well, maybe if they bottom decked the card, but even then they couldn't, because we'd have the redirection and such. It would just be very difficult for them. So we're quite confident in the way it stands at the moment. We are now redirecting the baby 5 to gain the life. So now we're on 2 life, and our opponent has pretty much 1 swing available to them with that Sakazuki. Plays out a Kuzan to freeze one of our cards and swings 9 into our life, and we're just going to take that. There's no point in countering because we can't, I guess. And now we are on 10 Don. We have a bunch of characters on board. Fair enough, one of them can't swing, but us being on 10 Don means only one thing given the current board state as it is, and that is that we are going to freeze a bunch of characters. The first thing we want to do is swing 5, see what they do, give us counter or not, and now we play out the Doflamingo and start freezing things. The reason we're doing this is because we want to swing a Doflamingo, or swing with Virgo and -1 to get the cost reduction, and we don't want a -1 to an active Don because we could play the Doflamingo. So we played it out first, freeze treat our characters, and then swing into the bluegrass for 7k, minus it down, so we're swinging 7 into 4. We would have eventually been able to get that off board. If we weren't able to get that off board, then our opponent would have given us their entire hand and would not have been able to get back to us on the crackback, because we actually had very strong defensive defense in our hand. We had 5k counter, and the way they would have split out their Dons wouldn't have helped. Let's go into the next game now. Good game from our opponent, really cool to see Kuzan. And now our next deck we're playing against is the menace of the meta at the moment. It's Purple Enel. We'll see how this matchup goes. It's actually quite 50-50, depending on the coin toss, I guess. But that's pretty much a lot of Purple Enel. They're just so dominant on their first turn that you don't ever want to give it to them. We didn't. We were fortunate enough that we were able to get Durant 1, and on our turn we got Dellinger, which is a very strong card for this Purple Enel matchup. Whoa. Yeah, this is the second video now I'm recording, so the lungs are kind of giving in a little bit. But look, I remember this game very well. It's a good game, so let's talk about it a little bit more. Our opponent using L-Tor to give their leader 6k plus 1k and remove the Dellinger, which is, it's a shame we can't redirect, but it's not like they have a Holy on board that they're able to get a double attack off early on, so it's fine. And also a good thing to know when they L-Tor away a Dellinger is that you just ramp for free. So now we are on, I believe, is it 6 Don? We take both of those swings, by the way. We don't have an option. We could use Divine Departure, but we do want to keep those in hand because they're going to come up in this matchup. Because we ramp with Dellinger, we're on 6 Don now, which is actually very useful. We swing 5 into the Satori. Getting that off the board is actually quite useful. It allows the opponent to set up a lot of curve. We play out a Dellinger and play out a Virgo. If we didn't ramp with the Dellinger earlier, we would have only been able to play out a Virgo, which it wouldn't have been as strong as this turn, because when we went to redirect into Virgo, we could have and just used it as a blocker, but it wouldn't have been as useful because we wouldn't have gained back any rested Don. Whereas now the way it is, we're able to redirect into Virgo or Dellinger, and we're still at the same Don state. Our opponent swings 7 into 3. I think it's just worth it to give it there, and we leave the Dellinger standing so that we can swing into their bodies. There was an argument to -1 and let the Virgo stand, but I mean, they were going to swing with it into leader anyway, so we said we just let it go, and it was frozen. You know, it was, that Virgo was having a tough time. So as you saw, we swung 2 into Ohm. Our opponent countered. We swung 5 into Ohm, and our opponent really considered countering out of that as well. Played an 8 cost opening going to a Virgo and pass turn. Our opponent's turn now, so they used that +2 cost event, which is very good in this matchup actually, because we can only freeze underneath 7 cost, and their Enel is now 8 cost. So you know, more tools from Enel there. The opponent uses L-Tor. We -1 Don from that just to protect it. We just want to keep the option open on being able to redirect it into the Dellinger. Also, them swinging their ohms into it leaves their ohms exposed, so we can swing into them next turn. So we kind of just want to, we want them to do that pretty much. They don't. They swing into it with leader, which is good for us. It's essentially acting like a blocker anyway, and we gain that rested Don like before. It's a shame that we're only on 7 or 9 Don. We were on 7 Don. I think the Doflamingo effect would be really useful now, but What we do have is probably as good for curve. We play out another A cost into a Monet and gain 2 Don, so we have this 2 cost Doflamingo effect active. Really cool interaction with Virgo, and why Virgo is a very, very strong card against Enel is that we're able to swing 7 into their lead and minus the Enel, like we could have, in all fairness, minus the Sanji, so that they couldn't have got free block value. But what we did by minusing into the Enel made it scary for them to block out of anything, because we could just double down on their Enel. Their Enel is only AK now, and if we attached, say, 2 Don to our Doflamingo, we'd actually be in a very, we'd be able to be more aggressive towards that Enel. So by us doing that, they didn't get the block value that they would have got, and in the end they left their blockers standing. They play out another Sanji next turn, so now our opponent has 2 blockers up, has the potential of big swings, and has 2 ohms on the board, so they're able to minus a bunch of Dom to us. Speaking of, or minus a bunch of power, speaking of minus power, they used a lightning chitin into the what's my boy's name, Virgo, and freeze Virgo because he is now 6k. We used the card effect of Doflamingo to rank the 10. We still have 10 Don up, and we have a bunch of events in hand, in all fairness, one of them being Nono Beam Sword. Will we see it in action? Who knows? I do know that the Beam Sword is a very, very goodness in this matchup. As you can see here, we choose to protect the Monet. There is a temptation with Doflamingo to let your bodies go like quite freely because you get nice on KO abilities. But the Monet is still a swinger, and it's still a 6k swinger. Eventually it'll probably fall off the board, or eventually we'll redirect into it, but we don't need to now, so why not keep it on board and have a bigger swing? That's exactly what we do. We keep it on the board. We're going to go and swing 5 into Ohm there, but we attached it onto our leader so that Divine Departure card action is online, and that's exactly what we're going to do because we rested the Enel last turn. We want to get rid of it now. They only have 1 Enel, which is fortunate for us. Usually they can sequence them in such a way, but not this guy here. He just has a bunch of blockers. We now are considering what we have in hand. The only move really is Divine Departure, but there is a sort of argument to be made on how we're going to apportion our Don to swing into the Enel. So we give that minus AK, so the Enel is now standing at 2. We swing 6 into it with 4 Don active, and our opponent chooses to block out of this and give us a 1k. So that's the argument there, is that we could have swung 8 into it and our opponent would have had to give us a blocker easily enough. Yeah, that is one of the arguments, to be fair. And is it a misplay? It could potentially have been a misplay, but we kept our Don up because, 1, just in case they were able to counter out of more stuff, we would have guaranteed getting the Enel out of the way, and 2, as I mentioned earlier, it's really nice to have extra Don up so our opponent thinks we have these cards in hand that they're really afraid of. And 3, okay fine, we were sort of hoping that we had a Nor Beam Sword in life as well, in case, and so we kept up the Don just for that reason as well. Even if we couldn't arrest the character, it's still a 2k, you know. So our hand size now is standing at, or our counter is standing at 3, 5, 9, and we can be a 7k, so we're pretty safe. To be honest, we are very safe. Our opponent chooses to use 2 Gamma Knives, or 2 Gamma Knives into our Doflamingo, and so they swing 2 into -1. They'll probably minus it another bit with Ohm, I think, or else they already have, so it's 2 into -1. Oh no, they choose to minus the Monet down, which is actually quite interesting. So what is going to happen here is we are considering how we're going to survive. Can we survive? How are we going to get the win next turn? And the answers actually lie in keeping our board state up for as long as possible. So what we're going to do is Divine Departure away our brick and give them 1k, so we counter out of that. The fair for us is that they have one of those freeze events again to be able to freeze the Monet. So us keeping the Doflamingo up means that they have to have 2 in hand, and they've already used 2, so the chances of that are very slim. Our opponent starts attaching Don now, and really there's not many places that they can go to swing here. Like, they will get one body off board, absolutely, but they won't get two. That's for sure. So what the opponent has is a 7k swing and a 9k swing, and we have enough counter for a 9k swing. So we will consider what to do with that. We can, in all fairness, like we can redirect into the Monet here and gain back the rest of Don, but we value the Monet staying on the board as a swinger more than we value the Don in our hand. So we don't do that, and hope that they can't freeze it. They can't, and then we just start spreading out Don. Our opponent hits us with a GG. We're tempted to say GG as well, but you'd never know with this Purple Enel deck, the way these games can go. You don't want to be too overzealous and reply to someone saying GG and they end up having, you know, I don't know what he could have had to save himself from this, but you just never know. You know, Purple Enel's so scary that you can't really be all too happy until you see this, until you see you win. And GG's to our opponent. I think they played quite well. They didn't see the holy, which is great for us. Once the Enel sees the holy, it's a different matter altogether. But that is why we kept the Dellinger in hand at the start. Having Dellinger on the board and would mean that the opponent has to have the Holly Ohm combo and an L Tour, and if they did, then that's just a god curve and it's hard to come up against, but it protects us from a lot of contingencies. If we're able to make it out of that period of the game, then our chances are better and better because our den cost for Doflamingo is freezing and their Divine Departure is removing. Good game to our opponent. Let's go into the next game. It's against Red Yellow Bonney, otherwise known as McDonald's Boney, however you want to say it. Our opponent chooses to go first, or rather we choose to go second, and we start out the game quite strong with a 2-Don turn, which is Dellinger and Sugar. Very, very good for us. Our opponent swings 5 into us. We are likely to take this, and our opponent doesn't have a 3-Don turn, clearly, because they swing 3 or 5 with their Searcher, which is actually fantastic here because that allows us to swing into their Searcher, play out a pudding, search with that pudding, see what we can get. Just kind of thinking on how it's going to work out with Don here, whether we should take the 4 cost Sugar or the 4 cost Baby 5. We picked the Baby 5 because it's just really handy to have. We search again and we take out a 2k. It's beneficial for this deck to take 2ks as you can, and like it's quite high priority because the 2ks we run are, one is Doflamingo searchable, and it's that guy who we just picked out. Them, I forget his name to be honest. Merlot. What's it? Treble. Yeah, Treble. And the other is Usohachi, as you see there, and we can't search Usohachi, so searching 2k and having it in hand is just beneficial for this deck. Otherwise you're depending on your events and your 1ks, and our 1ks are really strong, especially the ones we have in hand now. Our opponent plays out a Borsa, heals 1 life and swings into us. We take the sequence we were able to do last turn is we were able to redirect, rest, search and keep our sugars up. There was a way here for this turn that we were able to play the Baby 5 out, gain an active on and search twice. Unfortunately we didn't get that off, which is fine. We valued the Pika a lot on board early because it allows you to ramp consistently and sort of get the it allows you to consecutively play the 10 cost Doflamingos. In a way other cards can't really. It also, if you have 1 Don standing, you gain that active Don, you're able to activate ability. So it's a very flexible card actually. It can work like Rosanante, it can work like Monet. It's a very useful engine for consistency for this deck. Whoa, it's really raining here. I hope that's not too loud on the audio. Okay, we're going into our opponent's turn 5 this week. 5 into us. They trash a card with that Robin there, which is really cool to see actually in this deck. And they play out a blocker also. They don't choose to swing with this Zeph, which is very strange actually. That's just very strange. I don't know why not. Maybe they don't want it to be taken down next turn, which is fair enough I guess in some way, but look what happens. It gets KO'd anyway. We had the option there if we wanted to freeze a bunch of their cards instead, but we just chose the KO because that Zeph making their character 7k would have been very, very annoying for us for the game. We choose not to swing with the Pika just to keep that engine alive. Swing 9k with leader instead. They use a Centimaro blocker to draw a card. Play another Zeph down. Zeph's a really cool card. You've seen it in my Krieg videos already. So it is a really cool card, but it's slow. That is one of the weaknesses. It's when attacking. And if it comes online for Bonney, it will make it a very, very strong leader because it could potentially go up to 11k if they play it in Zora the next turn, which is cool. But it's not looking too likely for them in the last turn, and again on this turn. The reason for that is because our Doflamingo can KO, and that's what we did. We KO'd. We swing 7 into their Robin minus a 2k, 7 into 4. They give us that, and now we just start picking into their leader. Swing 5, swing 9. They takes another 7k, and they trigger the Usopp ability, so they're 9k. But we still swing with the 10k anyway, because why not? And they give us a block, which clearly means they don't have a 2k, or else they just don't want to give it to us. They play out the Luffy secret rare blocker 12k, and gives your opponent, or gives your character, your leader, plus 2k, and swings 9 into the Virgo by minusing it down 1. We're able to redirect that, so we do exactly that. And now here we can apportion down and just whittle them down a little bit, but the way we go for the finish here is we choose to Divine Departure the Luffy. I think this is a better way because 1, we're very safe next turn anyway, and 2, if they do want to block out, we get rid of their blocker, and it's probably one way to guarantee that we're able to get that blocker off the board, who could potentially, like, it's hard for our opponent here. Like, the board state is, it's dominant in our favour. We're able to remove on curve quite consistently. The Zephs were too slow for them. It's possible that they didn't find that Zoro in time and they only pulled into that recently. Same with the Raigo. Maybe their curve was just all over the place. But we were very consistent throughout that game with what we were searching and how we built our board. So GG's to our opponent in the end. We have our final match of the day. It's against the least favourable, most meta opponent that we face in ranked pretty much consistently, and that is Red Blue Ace. Red Blue Ace is quite strong, always has been, always will be, and you will see for these reasons here. I think as I mentioned earlier, 70-30 kind of spread. How we win this matchup always is true persistence. No, I'm joking. It's true using the Nornor Beam Sword aggressively or well defensively to rest their new gates in the late game to be able to push for game. Using our 10 costs, what we did in our last game was we used it to KO the Cavendish. We'll see how we use it here. Now this turn, our opponent plays out a Cavendish on a 4-cost turn and doesn't attach the leader, doesn't attach anything to leader, swings 6 into us, and we just take that hit, I believe. And the opponent passes the turn to us. We play down a baby 5, gain an active Don, meaning we have 2 Don up, and we use that to search for a sugar. There was actually a world where us attaching 6 to leader was, what did we have? Oh, I think it was 5. We were on 5 Don that turn, and then we ramped. That us attaching 5 Don to leader and just swinging at them was actually quite a good play because they didn't have the Don attached, and them going down to 1 cost would have been very, very good for us. I like the way it shook out, how the board state is currently, because we have that baby 5 online. Our opponent swings 3 into our sugar, they can have that. They swing 6 into our lead. We'll see what they do here. They're drawing and trashing. Cavendish is just so strong, and we see the Nornor Beam Sword. We don't choose to trigger it because it doesn't help us ramp. Like, we don't need the ramp really this turn. They swing 7 into us with their leader. We can redirect that into the Dellinger to search. We pull the 2k from top, and our hand now is looking very nice actually. So we're considering what to do. It would be nice if we had an 8 cost here, that we'd be able to play the 8 cost into the 5 cost Virgo. Unfortunately, we're not that lucky. but still very strong hand. What we're going to do is play out this 4-cost sugar. 4-cost sugar gains an active Don on play, and that active Don allows us to play out the Virgo, which is very, very strong. We're also on 9 Don here, okay? So that means we can use the leader ability for free on anything but baby 5 and still be able to ramp into the 10 cost next turn, which is actually very relevant here. If we redirect it into the baby 5, then we'd be -2 and we'd throw off the whole curve. Our opponent's turn now, okay? So what are they going to do? They play out a Yamato, 6-cost, which is a rush and activate main. You give a rested Don to your leader, I believe. I think it's every turn, which is very strong. It's a kind of throwback. It's a throwback ace card actually. Our opponent swings with Cav for 7 and trashes a Zor from hand, which is kind of wild to be honest. The Zor is so good, but I guess they wouldn't have character rush, so they're not prioritizing it at the moment. Our opponent swings 7, another 7. We take 2 of those and then counter to the last. Or sorry, we use Dallinger effect there. And now we are debating on what to say to our opponent too, because we need to take a quick 1 minute break and we don't want to go into too many details, so we just say 1 minute and let that time pass. I'll come back to you now when we resume play. And we're back with a bit of banter from our opponent, saying faster, ha ha ha. I hope he was joking, otherwise he's quite a rude person, but I'm sure he's not. I'm sure he's lovely. We are debating what to do here. We're on our 10 non-turn, so the option of playing out the 10 cost and freezing a bunch of stuff is quite enticing actually, but we're aware that we want to play for the long game, and as we know, and as you now know from watching this video, the beam sword in the late game is the way we do that. So we're not going to be too greedy with the Doflamingo, with freezing a bunch of stuff. We're just going to go and try and control the board best we can, play the blockers while we can, and use the events quite aggressively. I think it's the right way of playing this matchup, and I do rate these plays here. Our opponent gives us the Cavendish, takes the leader ability, so gets another card from that KO. We swing 7 into their Yamato to minus it down, so the Yamato's down lower. They counter out of that. We swing 5 into the -4 Yamato. They counter out of that. We play Pika. Pika gains an active Don at the end of the turn, so our Nor Beam Sword is now active. Just from looking there, I think we are on 8 Don as well. I think it is 8 Don. Show me. Yeah, 9 Don. Okay, I was a little bit wrong. Which means a few things, okay? It means that we can, if we want to use this 10 cost next turn, okay? If we want to use that, then we can only use one minus effect. We can block and minus with the beam sword and gain an event back, or we can block and gain an event back to hand once. We can redirect once, or we can use the beam sword once. If we use any minus effect more than once, then we are not able to go into that 10 cost. So just something to keep in mind. Our opponent swings 8 into 7. We are going to use the beam sword here aggressively to protect that. And they have the option of swinging 7 into it now, which I believe they will take. I'm going to give them the counter for that, because we don't have counter. Well, we do have. Oh yeah, we don't have counter for the 11k. So we're after forgetting all about this Doflamingo off top because it was never going to work out. And to be honest, at this stage of the game, we were thinking, okay, we're going to have to try and go and control board again and last for another turn. And we were going to aim for their two smaller bodies there, the two Yamatos. But the way it shook out there with that epic top deck, we're able to pull the Divine Departure off top. And in doing so, we now have a very real possibility of getting rid of this Newgate. Debatable on the way I swing there, that I swung into Yamato. I could have actually just saved that 7-don swing for Newgate, which I believe in hindsight was probably the right way to do it, but we don't have that luxury to be able to pause time. We swing 7 into 2 by minusing 2 dons, so we're after minusing 10k power to their Newgate now this turn. We'll see what our opponent wants to do and how they want to proceed. They give us the leader effect, they give us the 2k, and they give us another 2k. We get 3 cards out of hand. And now we're thinking here, does our opponent have enough cards in hand to be able to protect the Newgate from a Virgo swing as it is? And then will we pivot, and then will we minus 2k to a Yamato and pivot and try and get a 6k swing onto that Yamato to remove 2 things? But we think that's a bit greedy, so we don't go for that. We go instead and say minus 2k to that Newgate again. The benefit of doing that is that we'd actually be able to swing up AB5, 2k into 0, so it would have been very strong. We just leave everything standing up afterwards. As you know, it's just nice to have these the 4-don up. Like, it's not actually going to do anything for us. I don't think they can rest Don or anything, but it's just nice to have that mind game going. Our opponent swings 6 into us. We will absolutely just use Beam Sword here to use the 2k counter and freeze the other 7-cost swinger. Like, it would have been smart for, it didn't really matter too much to be honest, but it would have been smart for them to swing 7 first. If they knew we had a Beam Sword. We took that life, thankfully enough. They swung there. Well, actually, no, it didn't matter all that much either. And now, since they played down Taxbeard, right, we only have 2 character swings. We can swing with leader for free. We have 9 Don up, so we're trying to think on how we can mat this out. There's no Don on their leader as well, so bear that in mind. When we swing, they won't be able to draw 2 cards, they'll only draw 1, like a regular, normal leader, and they have leader effect, okay? So they essentially guaranteed have a 2k. Okay, in a big hand, of course, they have a 2k, but they have a leader effect, so a brick is a 2k, so their hand is scary at the moment. We're swinging only in multiples of 2, so we could have swung 6 there, and then swung big with our Virgo and our Virgo. We choose to swing 8 first. We get leader effect in a 1k, and now we are portioning out Don. We can swing, in all fairness, we can go on even numbers here and swing 9. We have 7 Don up, so what's that? That would be, how much Don do we have? We have 6, so we can go 10 and 10, or we can go 9 and 11. And we choose to go 10 and 10, which I think is smarter, to be honest, as we said earlier. Swinging multiples of 2 is stronger. Obviously it makes it scary here that we're swinging 10 and they have 6 cards in hand, but from what I remember, they pulled a Goldie Roger earlier and they used a I Am Whitebeard event and they got a I Am Whitebeard event, so I think they have 2 bricks in hand. Also, them using leader effect at the start was kind of telling that they don't have too much defense, so another reason why we swung like that. And also, yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't want to overanalyze and make myself out to be the most genius player ever. While I'm yapping, our opponent is leaving us out in the cold, waiting, which really breaks my heart here because I was really wanted this win. I thought we played so well. And obviously when it comes down to the end of the game and you start putting your Don on in a particular way, you just want to see if you did it right or not. Because if I had lost but 9-11 would have won, then it would hurt a little bit. So our opponent gives us 2k, gives us 1k, can't give us any more. They disconnect before we say GG, that's fair enough. You can see their hand is very, very bricked. Maybe we're actually very lucky there actually that they didn't have so much counter, because Ace draws and discards so much, they could have selected more counter along the way, but I guess it's so enticing for an Ace player to pick these big huge cards. So that was the second game against Ace. As you can see, the secret sauce is getting Divine Departures. Divine Departures in hand, using Beam Swords on turns to rest their new gates, and then Divine Departure into it to minus it a bunch of Don. Having Virgo on board is very, very strong in both the Purple Enel matchup and the Ace matchup, so that being a 4 is obligatory in this deck. We run a bunch of bricks, so there is always a risk that we get bricked up, but it didn't happen to us there. Thankfully, we played 2 matchups against Ace and won them both. We played at Purple Enel, we won that quite comfortably enough, as comfortable as you can against Purple Enel. We dominated that Red Yellow Bonney game in all fairness, and the same with the Kuzan as well. So I really do think Purple Doflamingo is a strong contender. These are all ranked games, by the way, so our opponents are quite good. I really do think Purple Doflamingo is a strong contender. I'm after buying the altar to the leader recently, so I'm keen on buying the core of the deck fairly soon and taking it to the locals. So I'm getting these rounds in and sim. I know you guys like Doflamingo as well, because I played it before and there was some pretty cool comments, and I think this gameplay is better than my last, so I hope you enjoyed that. So listen, lads and girls, if you enjoyed this video, don't be afraid to hit the like button. If you didn't like it, there's a dislike button there as well. There's also a comment section if you think there's things I'm doing good, there's things that I can do better. Please just let me know. I love doing it. I post a video every day. Fair enough, my schedule's a bit all over the place, but you know, I'm learning as I go, and it's really great to have a community behind me that's helping. You guys are really so supportive, so cool in the comments, and it's great talking to you guys. So keep talking to me. I'm enjoying all the aspects of it, really. So without talking too much, if you want to keep on watching these videos, make sure to subscribe, and all else, I hope you have a good day. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.